I'm Wendy. Welcome into my studio. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to this fun little orange painting. So we are going to paint such a simple, anybody can do this. Kids can paint along, so easy. And all you need are your primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue, plus your black and white. And you only need a few paint brushes. So I recommend having at least a 1 to 2 inch flat brush, a medium about 1/2 inch flat brush, and then a small round brush. So those 3 brushes are all you need. Today I'm using a 9x12. Normally I use 8x10, but I just wanted to use up a couple of these 9x12s that I had. But any rectangle size is going to do just fine. So grab your supplies and paint along. The whole reason I make these is not for people to watch and go, oh, look how Wendy can paint. I don't care about me painting. I do that for me, but I want to show you how you can do it for you. But you have to jump in and paint along, and that's where the magic happens. So get your brushes, get your paints out. It's only going to take less than 30 minutes, and you're going to create something that you're really proud of. You can even hang it in your kitchen or give it as a gift. So let's do this. All right, first brush we're going to use is a large flat brush, whatever your biggest one is, because we're doing a pretty solid background color. I'm going to be doing blue mixed with white and a touch of red. You could also, in lieu of this, you could just mix blue and white if you use ultramarine, but I'm using the primaries, and you can find all the colors that I'm using in the description. But I'm starting off with this soft, powdery baby blue color. And we're gonna go ahead and just brush it in there vertically. I'm just getting a nice coat. If your paint's not going on well, just dip your brush just a little bit in the water and mix it into your paint. And this usually helps go on a little smoother, and it helps with blending. So if that's something you need to do, do it. No worries. We just want to get a decent coat of this blue on here. We're going to do just a really simple little orange. Some still life, kind of like oranges on a branch kind of thing. Doing a couple different orange paintings. Summer is a very fruity time. Fruit, that usually want to eat a lot of fruit if it's hot. It is hot where I am, so usually we eat a good amount of fruit. And if you want, you can have like maybe some parts be a little darker. You don't have to have it be a solid background. So see, I can take like less white in the blue and come around the edges just to play. You don't have to, but it could look kind of fun. Or again, you could just keep it more of a flat color. But all my brush strokes are moving vertically in this background that I'm doing. And if I want any parts to be a little lighter towards the center, I can just take some white and brush it in. And be like, all right, maybe it's a little lighter in some spots, a little darker in others. Typically, you want light in the middle, darker on the edges, but you could do that, you could flip that idea and do it reverse. So it looks kind of pretty, different shades of blue. And we want this to dry before we layer on top of it. So typically using a blow dryer to hit the canvas is the quickest way to get your canvas dry. But if you have extra time, maybe you need to go take a break to do something, you can let it sit and then restart when it has had a chance to dry. All right, so mine's pretty dry. And then I'm going to go in with a square brush. So a medium square brush. You could, if you're one of my people who prefers a round brush, you could also use a round brush for this part. It's really not that, big of a deal what you choose to do. Something medium though, so you have control over the shapes. And I'm going to place the oranges first. So we're going to make orange. And I want to make just a good medium to dark shade of orange. So I have a decent amount of red with a little bit of yellow, and a touch of white is going to help make your paint less transparent because most acrylics are transparent. So there we go. We've got a decent orange shade there. And then I'm going to make some circles because oranges are basically circles. So I want to go find the middle of the canvas. We're going to put one right in the middle. Just make a little dot. And each orange is going to be about yay big. About a quarter width of the canvas, or maybe a third width of the canvas. Don't make them too small. And then just color it in with a nice coat. If you're getting too much transparency, add a little more white, and it's okay if it looks very pastel at first. We can always layer, and we will. So once I have that one, I'm going to do another one that's up here to the left. We'll do another one down to the right, maybe leave a little more space between. Notice how I left a little bit of a bigger space between the middle one than I did here. So you got to change it up a bit. And maybe this one appears a little bigger. I don't know. They don't all have to be the exact same size, but I do want them to be kind of similar. But even though my mom has a lemon tree and they're like, some of them are huge, it's crazy. And then some of them are really small. So, it is pretty normal and typical for them to grow and be different sizes. So it's okay if we do that. And then let's see, we'll put another one like right in here. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit of a darker shade. So notice how I added a little more red. And they don't have to be perfect circles because they're just not. They're circular, but they're not perfect circles. And I'll do another one down here. Right. Perfect. So I have 5. You could add more or less. I kind of like doing odd numbers, like if you have a 3 flowers or 5 flowers or 7 flowers. But sometimes if you have even numbers, it can be, I don't know, I kind of lean more towards the odd number, but you can do whatever you want. Okay, so with the orange though, I want to actually mix some black into my orange to make a dark brown. So dark brown is going to look like yellow, red, and a bit of black, and maybe a little bit of white, but not too much white. So it's very much like just mixing orange with black. I want it pretty dark. So I make it a dark brown. There's a lot of black, but we have that undertone of brown. And then I'm just going to use the edge of the brush, and we're going to pull from the upper left. It doesn't have to go off the canvas, but I mean, it can if you want to. And we're just going to traverse like right next to these oranges and over in the right corner here. So see how I'm just in this space? And then I'm going to let it go there. And then we can have some connections to the oranges like that. So see how I'm drawing lines to go to the oranges? All right. And then maybe I have one that comes like behind, like that. And then maybe this branch comes behind too. And then I can land it right to this orange. So we have a little branch coming to each orange. You want to make sure it comes those spaces. Maybe you have some little branches coming off here and there. So see, I'm making these fun little motions. So fun. Really just add branches wherever you want, you know, it doesn't, I don't want to, I personally wouldn't overdo it just because it can tend to look kind of messy if you have too much. So, you know, be easy. And then you can switch to the small round brush to do the leaves. You could also keep using the square brush if that's something you want to do. Now I'm going to make a dark green to start, and I'm just using blue with a touch of yellow and a touch of red. That's going to give me a nice dark green. And I'm going to be going in and I'm going to make leaf shapes. So let's see, I'm going to put a leaf off of this. And leaves are just like looking like little surfboards, basically. You can just make a smiley face and then kind of a rainbow, connect them, and then color it in. Pretty basic. And I'm going to do really as many of those as feels fun. And they can be different shapes. Leaves look kind of weird sometimes. They're not always like perfect. And you can even do a one brush stroke leaf. So for example, if I want a smaller leaf, maybe I make some small ones right here. I just point the brush where I want the tip of the petal to go, or the leaf, barely touch, and then push harder as you want the leaf to widen, and then release. It does take a little bit of practice. So, you know, experiment. You can try on another separate piece of paper if you don't want to mess with your paint, your canvas. If you don't want to trial and error right on the canvas, even though I kind of recommend just going for it, you know? Because what we can tend to do is that we get a little bit too worked up about making it look perfect, and then we take all of the humanity out of it. And we already have AI to do that for us with pretty much everything these days. So, and it's not like AI is bad, but I do think that you aren't going to get the soul out of it that you will if we are doing things by hand and letting it have little mistakes and whatnot. We don't want to miss out on the beauty of that. Life is just too unique and just too beautiful. Okay, so I'm just mixing up some more of that dark green because I'm running low. And see how I'm just going around the shapes here? Like wherever I want to see a leaf, I'm just going to pop one in. Because you don't want your tree to look too bare. This is so fun to do. Leaves is one of my favorite things to paint because there's just so many ways you can do it. And for some reason, it's just so satisfying to paint the leaf in there. I don't know about you, but it just feels like that to me. And you can even have one just coming out of the orange. Maybe I have one coming over the orange a little bit right here. Can paint over the orange a little bit. And I hope you're relaxing as you do this. This is where art can be so therapeutic. So I really invite you to zone out and just get those leaves in there. That one brushstroke really feels relaxing for me to do. So I love doing that. Maybe I may put a little bit of green on some of my brown branches. So fun. Now, while that first layer of green dries, I'm going to stop because I don't want to overdo the leaves. Like I said before, you want to keep it kind of, you know, sparse. I am going to put in some little orange blossoms. Now, they're going to be more of a white, they're going to look more white in the end, but I want to do a base coat that's just different to give it something to contrast again. So I'm going to do like a light peach as the first color. So it's basically orange with white. It's going to give you a peach color. And maybe it's a little heavy on the red for like a pink undertone, or you can do heavy on the yellow. It's really up to you. But you don't want it to look pure white yet. You want it to have kind of a peachy color to start. And then what we're going to do is just maybe this is a little flower bud. So I'm going to do one brush stroke. Maybe these are some little buds too. So it's almost like a little leaf. So some of them are going to be like little buds. And then like right here, I'm going to do a flower. So I'm going to put a sort of just a dot. And then I'm going to make little like leaves coming out of it and do like 5. Just like that. And then I'll do another one like right in here. And let's see, we'll do one more. So 1, 2, and we'll have at least 3, right? So I'm going to do it on sort of on top of this orange right here. And you can add more, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Just because I'm feeling like that's good enough. And then I can add a bunch more yellow to my brush. I still have a little bit of that peach on there though, so it's not like pure yellow. I'm just adding a bunch of yellow to it. And then what I'm going to do is just dab that in the middle of those flowers. Dab the yellow in the middle. So there we go. So you should have that. Now we're going to do some shading on the oranges. So that means we're just using more red mixed into our orange. So it's like a heavy on the red shade. And then for example, on this one, I'm going to put a little shadow where the leaf is. And then on the left side, I'm almost just like outlining the left side of the orange. And then maybe blending it out just a little bit. Now, if you want to soften the color as you blend out, just add more yellow and then you can soften it a bit. So it can go from darker and gradually get a little lighter as you pull towards the center of the shape of the orange. So notice how just giving it a few more shades makes it look less flat. So we can do that with all of them. So like, for example, I can put a little bit around the left edge on this one. It's just basically orange, but you got more red mixed in. And what can be fun, and I'm going to do a little bit on the right side too. So it's almost like you're almost like outlining it. I'm going to do a little here on this one. Just like around the edges. Again, I'm on the left edge and the right, just more on the right and the left edge. And then you can pull a little bit of that in towards the center a bit. And then we have more yellow. as we come towards the center of the shape. So then make a lighter shade of orange. Add a little more yellow. And brush that in towards the middle. Notice how much more vibrant they are now too. It's like, whoa. And just blend it out as much as you want. And we'll go do some more layering. But before we do that, I'm going to do just a little bit of touch-ups on my brown. So we have the brown that we brought in. You can add like a little more black to it, maybe to make it darker. And then you just want to make sure that that's like touching the orange. So notice how I can paint a little bit down onto the orange with the stem to make it look a little more connected. So anywhere where the lines either go behind or connect to the top of the orange, make a little more detail there so that you can see it connect. So like, for example, I can go right here and really connect it to the fruit. And then maybe we see the connection to the little buds a little bit more clearly too. So you can put like a little V to hold the little flower bud onto the branch. Just little dabs of paint there. And then if you want to add any more branches, you totally can. Let's add a couple more shades to the green, then we'll go back to the oranges, then we'll go to the flowers, and then we'll be done. So it's really easy to do this. But I'm going to go ahead and get that green color with more yellow, and some white. So see how I can just add like more yellow and white, and it really begins to look softer and lighter. And then what I can do is go in and layer on top of the leaves that are there. You can kind of outline them if you want. You can do different things. Maybe you outline them and you can paint like little leaf veins on it like that, like little lines that pull out. Or you can just outline them. Or what's another easy way to do is just come in and paint a little dash of that color on top of the leaf. And that's very simple, but it's going to have a similar effect as far as just giving the painting more interest with the shades of green. But again, I can just paint a line through the middle and then put little lines pulling out of that center line. That's kind of a fun way. You can be as detailed as you want, but make sure it's fun for you. Whatever it is you choose to do with the leaves, let it be fun. I do encounter, I've been teaching art for a very long time, and I encounter a lot of anxiety around painting. People create a lot of drama about how their painting looks and very self-critical and very comparing like, oh, it's not good enough or it's not as good as that or whatever. I really want you to not focus on that. I want you to focus on whatever your imagination floats towards, because we all have that happen. And what I notice is that a lot of people they want validation for whatever ideas they come up with to see if it's like okay. And I'm here to say it's okay. It's all okay. And if you want a little bit more of a highlight, just pull in more white or more yellow and add some more little lines. The key here though is that you don't want to cover over the first shade or the second shade. You're just adding to it every time you add a color. It's just you're doing an addition. not a cover job. And maybe it's just a tiny little dash, just in one little spot. Maybe it's a little bit more intricate. And if any of the highlights get too crazy, just go back into your darker medium green. So there's no reason to like freak out about it. Sometimes I do that. I'll go and like make the bright color, and then I'll go back in and be like, ooh, I really want to add some more dark green over this particular thing, or I want this particular leaf to look a little bit bigger. So you can go in and adjust the size or just tone down your highlights a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going in with that dark green. Maybe some of those little brush strokes or details I don't really want, or maybe I just want to clean up some of the edges of the leaves to make them look a little different. These are all things that you can be doing throughout the process. And I'm cleaning the brush. I'm good with the leaves. Let's do a little bit of highlighting on the branches with a lighter shade of brown. Just add a little bit of white and maybe a little bit of red to the brown to give you this kind of pretty mauve brown color that could look pretty as a highlight. And then just go ahead and add a little bit to usually the top side of the branch, but it could be whichever looks more visible, like whatever you feel like would get more light. So for example, right here, the upper part of the branch would probably get more light. So that's the side that I'm putting the highlight on. Let's go and add a little bit more highlights to the orange. Now those highlights I want to do is like a peachy pink color. So what I'm going to do is add a bunch of white to the red with just a touch of yellow. And that's what I want to use as a highlight color. So that's going to pull more through the center of the orange. And by the way, you could just use a lighter shade of orange for this. It does not have to be this shade. Let's see how I'm going towards the right side. I'm just brushing in, and you can kind of blend it out a little bit. And you can even add more white or even pure white and just do like a little tish or not. So sometimes people find that that's like a little too loud for their style. So you can always like put it in there. So like, see how I can put a little dash of white in there, and then I can come in with a clean dry brush and just blend it right into what's there. And it's like it didn't happen. So you can just so easily blend out those highlights. Now I'm going to go in with just almost a pure white. And I'm going to do another coat on the flowers. And I don't want to cover over the first layer all the way. And there we go. So I'm not going to go too crazy again. I find that it's easy to just start simple. And if you make it too complicated on your first try, it's going to just get frustrating. So if you've never painted like oranges or anything like that before, this is a good starting point. And again, you can always come, like say some of your highlights got a little, this one got a little weird right here. So I'm just going to pull in some more of a medium orange tone over it. There. So again, touching up is such a fun part of the process. Just do it until you're feeling like happy about it and you want to let it go, but don't criticize yourself. Don't second guess, just do it and then let it go. That way you can invite the next creative project in. So thanks for painting with me. Leave a comment. Let me know what other fun things you'd like to learn how to paint and try to be specific. So otherwise I'll just run with it and be like, this is what I want to paint on that topic. And I'll do my best to get it in there because I think it's so much fun to collaborate with you and figure out other fun. It's always stuff I would never really think about doing, or maybe it's just not on my radar right at that moment, but I love how it inspires me. And so I just want to say thanks for inspiring me and thank you for painting with me. And I hope to see you back painting again real soon. Have a good day. Bye.